Richard finds Sawyer alone and tells him that he needs to go with him to the temple, that the man in black wants everyone dead. Then Richard prances away like Bambi when Flock comes back. So they continue on. Sawyer asks if he's ever read Of Mice and Men, and Flock says that it's a little after his time, because as we know, he's real old. And again, I'll talk about this at the end. Sawyer pulls out a gun, figuring it would probably be a good time to reenact a scene of cops. Flock then tells Sawyer that he's been trapped so long and doesn't know what it's like to be free. He says that he was once a man who had normal human emotions, and that he knows what it's like to lose a loved one. They finally arrive to the edge of a cliff and start to climb down some old ladders on the side. As we can see in just a few seconds, the cave they enter is supposedly Jacob's, so some connection to these ladders outside could be made with Jacob's ladder from Judaism and Christianity. A Jacob's ladder is portrayed as the bridge between heaven and earth. At the bottom, they go inside the cave, and right inside, there's an evenly balanced scale with a white rock on one side and a black rock on the other. He takes the white one off, signifying Jacob, and throws it into the water, symbolizing the balance of power is over with, at least in his opinion. A connection to the scale could also be found in Tibetan Buddhist mythology. A scale with black and white rocks is used by a god called the Dharma Raja in judging the dead. Then they go deeper inside the cave, and Flock points to the ceiling and walls and says, "That is the reason why you all are here." And in one of the coolest scenes in the entire series, we see hundreds of names scratched into the rock. Right before each name is a number, and most of the names are crossed out. Flock claims that the man who wrote them was Jacob, and that he died yesterday. He shows Sawyer that not all the names are crossed out, except a few, including 23 Jack Shepard, 8 Hurley Reyes, 16 Saeed Jarrah, 42 Kwan, which Flock states he doesn't know if it means Jin or son. I think Jin, but I'll talk about that later. And finally, 4 John Locke. He says the reason they're all up there is because Jacob touched them at some point during their lives, as we saw in the incident episode last season. He says Jacob also had a thing for numbers. Then Sawyer sees his own name, 15 Ford, on the wall, and says that he never met Jacob before. But Flock tells him that Jacob came to him at some point in his life when he was probably most vulnerable, and manipulated him throughout the course of his life to lead him to the island. He also claims that Sawyer never had free will, that Jacob was making all the decisions for him. He also states that all the names on the wall were candidates for Jacob's job, and that the job was supposedly to protect the island. Remember, Alana told Bram not to shoot Frank last season because he could be a candidate. And lastly, Flock gives Sawyer 3 choices. Either 1, stay until his name is crossed out, as Flock starts to cross out Locke's name. 2, take over to become the new Jacob. Or 3, leave the island with his new BFF. Sawyer remembers it's Valentine's week, so he chooses choice 3, of course. Okay, first I'm going to show every name and number that appear on this wall so far that people around the net and I have found. And then I'm going to talk about theories on why the numbers are there, why the names are there, what the names and numbers mean, and a lot more. And special thanks to Lostpedia for help with this list. So here's all the names and their numbers so far that we've been shown of the wall. Sorry if some of the names I say are hard to see, but I'll try to focus in on them the best I can. And I'll just list them off, and the ones we don't know yet, I'll just put a question mark by them. 4. Locke. 8. Reyes. 10. Mattingly, the U.S. Army soldier whose uniform was stolen and used by one of the others in 1954. 15. Ford. 16. Jarrah. 20. Rue, R-O-U, probably meaning Rousseau, maybe Alex or Danielle. 23. Shepherd, which is connected to Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. 29. Brennan, from Rousseau's team. 31. Rutherford, which is Shannon. 33. Martin, Carl's last name. 42. Kwan. Now, like I said earlier, I think it's Jin, but could be Sun or Ji-Yeon even. And I think it's Jin for a few reasons. Just last episode, when Aldo's about to shoot Jin, Justin yells out, "Don't, he's one of them." Maybe Kwan is referring to both of them, because as we know, Jacob in the past touched both of them at the exact same time at their wedding. But I do think it was Jin. As we know, Jin was transported to 1977 with the other candidates, whereas Sun stayed in the present. 55. Burke, which is Juliet. 64. Goldstein. 90. Troop, or Gary Troop. I talked about him in either my episode 1 or 2 recap, forget which one, of season 1. Remember, he's the guy who wrote the Bad Twin novel that Sawyer later reads. 115. Vargas. 117. Linus, probably Ben. 119. Almeida, maybe Tony Almeida from 24. 147. Lewis, which is Charlotte. 171, Strom, which is Miles. 175, Costa. 195, Pace, or Charlie. 197, Scheckler. 202, Hargis. 222, O'Toole. 231, Amistad. 233, Jones, which probably is a U.S. Army soldier whose uniform is used by Charles Widmore in 1954. 251, Yaris. 272, Oral Lingo. 282, Aguaya. 285, Jenkins, which could be Steve Jenkins, one of the Losties who died in the Flaming Arrow attack. 291, Domingo. 301, Mars, or Edward Mars, Kate's Marshal. 313, Littleton, which I'm not sure if it's either Aaron or Claire. 317, Cunningham, who was another U.S. soldier whose uniform was used by another in 1954. 321, Fernandez, aka Nikki. 335, Henderson, which is probably Rose, as her maiden name was Henderson. I can't tell if this is 346 or 396, but the name is Grant. 761, which is Faraday. And here's a few more names, but the numbers are too hard to tell, or they're not even in a frame yet. Aguila, Goodspeed, which could refer to many characters like Horace, Amy, Olivia, and Ethan. I think Horace, though. Lacombe, one of Rousseau's team members. Pickett, either Danny or Colleen Pickett, others early on in the series. Reynolds, Chang, Garner, Sullivan, who was another guy who died in the Flaming Arrow attack. And finally, the last one is just part of a name, Zgi, or just ZKI, which either is Rosinski, who I think it is, or Minkowski. Some interesting facts here before I get started on some of the theories is that no one from the tail section of the plane seems to be on this wall, at least that we can see so far. And then also another thing is that between each name and number, there's a dash between every name, except for Lux for some reason. And also there's at least 10 names on the wall that are of Iberian descent. That means they're from Spain or Portugal. Names like Costa or Almeida or Domingo or Aguila. And if we're excluding Hurley's and Paulo's and Nikki's last name, that still leaves a lot of names that are of that descent. Maybe that means the people on that wall were from the Black Rock. Maybe that means the Black Rock was from that area.